Hello, hello. Hi, VOD people. This is where I'm gonna cut this off. I am hoping that this is working out very well. I am hoping. Okay. I had a lot of free time today, and I talked about last stream that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna look into multi-streaming, so we could actually have Twitch and this is a little loud for my taste. We could actually look into doing YouTube, and I have too many things open. I don't need these open. I just want to make sure that this is working. Yes, it is. YouTube seemed interested in actually also having live broadcasts, so we're testing that out today. And I talked last night like, oh, I'm probably not going to get it done. This is probably going to something that starts up next week. I had a lot of free time today somehow, and I don't know how. Because I had a full list. I have a little planner that I keep on my desk. I had a full list of today things I need to get done. And one of those things was even planning out what I need to do for the week. So, it still boggles me I actually figured it out. And then I'm like, okay, I had like a reasonably slow morning, which is interesting too. This is not, I was working the entire day. This is far from it. I keep a pretty reasonably slow morning for myself. And I spend like an hour in bed each morning, which doesn't sound great until you realize I wake up at 7 a.m. I wake up at 7 a.m. So I can lay in bed for an hour. I like being efficiently lazy. It also gives time for ADHD meds to work, which is fantastic by my standards. I need to actually be able to see YouTube chat. There we go. Also, part of why it took a second for this to even like get started and everything is I want to keep the starting soon screen pretty slow, and I've confirmed at this point that it's in fact working, so. Oh, there we go. Yes. So I still want to see the stream manager, because I don't have a good stream manager, because it's OBS. OBS thinks I only have Twitch. So I can't see, like, all of the YouTube, like, activity feed and everything. So I just kinda gotta work with what I can. And make sure I'm keeping an eye on what is what. Yeah, we'll keep that popped up. We'll keep YouTube chat popped up so I can actually see it. It's covering everything. No, change that window. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Cool. So I spent the morning pretty slow morning. I didn't even take a shower and I was supposed to. I took one later in the day. Got breakfast, and even like I'd been eating bagels a lot. Didn't like the bagel today, so I'm like, I'm gonna wait a few days and just make a egg salad sandwich out of the bagel instead, because that tasted really good the last time I did it. And I'm getting around, I get some writing done, I'm like, I don't want to do any more writing anymore. I barely did anything, I'm gonna ignore that I did it. I'm like, okay, get myself to do something, let me plan out the week. And I'm like, okay, that's a few extra things I need to do today, but I could probably, like, get a few of them knocked off. It is what it is if I don't. And so I get the other things I need to get done today. I needed to DM some people. I ended up DMing another person that finally got back to me. What else did I need to do? I wrote down a media list because I was talking about that on the stream last night. There are so many things I want to go and watch, and I just forget all the time that I can actually just, you know what, I can go watch these instead of rewatching the same effing things over and over on YouTube, because my YouTube For You page is broken. And what else did I have to do? You know, in hindsight, I did actually have a lot planned originally. Like, half of this is just go live stuff. And then I was like, okay, there's a few other things I need to do that I wrote in the plan, so let me go do those real quick. Because the previous stuff took like an hour max, so we're like 2 p.m. of the day. It's like, okay, let me go do the other things. So I spruced up the Discord. I figured out the multi-streaming surprisingly fast. I want to, probably by the end of the week, hopefully is the goal, probably by Saturday, I want to have a new YouTuber, a new VTuber. We may or may not do streams for that, I'm not certain yet. I still don't know how this one's gonna work out. Supposedly, with the multi-stream thing, this is gonna have a VOD track? Supposedly. I don't know if it will. But this is not going to be saved on YouTube. This is still afterwards. It's going to be unlisted, deleted, whatever works best, whatever I find works best. And then the VOD will be saved over from Twitch, because that allows me to edit it very quickly. So I can cut out the beginning part. If I do a BRB screen, we can cut that out. And then we can move it over to the second channel, Mute2, which should be down below. I think it is. If it's not, it's literally MU-TWO. And I think I have it added in the YouTube bio. I know on Twitch, I do have a link for it. And geez, wow, yeah. Words, they're gone. They were here. I was talking about a thing. It's amazing how my memory works. Anyway, I got stuff done. New mute, the YouTuber thing, yes. Stuttering, it's great. And I got that done by like 3 PM, so I'm like, I guess I'm playing Skyrim till I gotta go live. I guess. I'm still amazed I got everything done. It didn't take, I allotted myself like 2 or so days to figure out the multi-streaming thing in case it just gave me a headache. But I literally looked it up, it's like, oh, use this website. Hey, Reddit thread here, you could actually just get a plugin for your OBS. Hello, Billy Bob. I need to double check. I'm pretty sure, I'm not certain. I believe YouTube chat should show up. I can't actually I couldn't confirm it offline, so I'm gonna double check. We gonna check. Also, there's gonna be... It does not. That is a problem. We need to fix that urgently. Because I have it set up, supposedly, so we can see both. No, there it goes. It just takes a second. Okay, cool. Fantastic. We love to see it, genuinely. And now, at the very right-hand side, there's the typical badges that you'd expect from, like, Twitch and such, but there's also a badge for Twitch specifically, and for YouTube, so we can see who's from where. And I did change out the alerts. I used to use specifically Twitch alerts. I've moved it over to Streamlabs. It shouldn't be too much different. It's still the exact same alerts. But now there's alerts for subscribers, members, and there's another thing. Super chats, that's the other thing YouTube does. And I have changed up the goal. It used to be a Twitch goal, specifically of like, oh, reach so many followers. And I wanted to do this prior, but this makes it a lot easier to do so. I moved it over to it's just every day we have, or every weekend. This is starting a little late because I changed it today. It would have been started yesterday. We'll just aim for like 10 or so follows and subs combined. So follows on Twitch work, and subscriptions on YouTube work. So technically one person could add 2. And then if it works, or if we like reach the goal, then that following Wednesday, we'll do a little Skyrim stream. Or if I decide I want to do something else, I'll probably switch it up like, oh, this weekend or this Wednesday we'll do a variety of, I'll do some Skyrim, or maybe I want to play this game or that. But it's basically just a goal. If we hit it, I do a variety stream. Was just grinding Supermarket Simulator. Nice. I tried getting into it for a moment. I don't know. I think I'm just way too much into Skyrim right now. I finally have finished all the stupid grindy BS. Finally, it took forever. For those who are new around here, I am slowly playing Skyrim Legendary Survival. It is as annoying as it sounds. I barely one-shot wolves. I am a sneak archer at level 58. It takes 10 shots average for me to kill anything. I am still fighting for bandits, by the way. I finished pretty much all of the grindy stuff I need to do. So at this point, I have a Conjuration Sneak Archer build, which also alleviates some of the weight, because survival mode, you have less weight you can carry around, which adds an extra layer to this. So most of my carry weight right now goes to my armor and my food. And whatever goofs and gats and gadgets I carry along the way. Usually just trophy stuff, like if I find a specific quest, or not quest items, because no weight for quest items. If I find a dwarven spoon, because for some reason spoons and forks, you can never frickin' find them in the game. And if you can, like, see one, half the time you can't actually pick it up. It's just purely decoration. So, I'm gonna collect the spoons. I'm pretty sure at this point I do have a spoon, fork, and knife. And I consider that a heavy achievement. I want that to be... I make my own achievements in Skyrim. In playing this save, hi Wolfie! Hello, Daily Cranberry. That is sadly just a Twitch thing. I YouTube doesn't really have the channel point thing going on. This is the first day of dual streaming, and it seems to be working out great. I could see it's connections poor on Twitch, on YouTube end. Or it seems to be running fine. It's running the VTuber just fine. I don't know why YouTube's telling me the connection's poor. I don't know. It's being a silly. It's being very silly. What? I need this, and then this. 28-day streak. Nice. And words. What was I saying? Skyrim! I'm still going through the A through Z challenge. The next person is like a car. It's just some random werebearer in like Solstheim. And then after that, I have two fantastic people. One is in the middle of the Dark Brotherhood questline. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's like, he cheated on some woman and now the woman wants him dead. That's it. That's all I remember. I don't remember his name. Ald blah something. And then the next character I have to kill is fucking Alduin. So yeah. I have that entire quest line in front of me. It's not like a strict I have to kill them in order, because that would be impossible. There's a lot of people I'd have to kill along the way to Alduin. So it's just whatever happens, happens. Like, I did the Forsworn questline today, because first, this has been ingrained in my head since the first time I played Skyrim, really, and was doing that questline, the Forsworn questline. If you don't know, it locks you in jail and takes away all your shit. Which is annoying, because it actually requires you to do several battles, and yeah, it's annoying. So I told myself I need to have a magic build one day when I come back to this. And this was the save. I finally had my magic build for this stupid quest, and I got out of the jail in like 5 minutes. Because I have Conjuration, like, I've legendaried it once already, I'm pretty sure. And I use Conjuration weapons, I use a Soulbound bow. And then, thanks to Creation Club stuff, I have the Aelid Lich, which is a very overpowered mofo, and you have to fight an Aelid Lich in order to finish the questline and get to the point where you can get the spellbook. Which you have to craft in like a forge underneath the Mages Guild. The Atronach Forge or something. Oh yeah, drink of the day is matcha. I have a delicious, nice, light, iced matcha. If you are thinking a deep, dark green, you have had wrong matcha. This is a beautiful jade color. Anyway, we've wasted like 20 minutes of me raving about how much I love Skyrim. I'm gonna actually open the Minecraft Bedrocks now. And we're gonna play a map I have. I've had it for a long time. I don't think it's ever seen the light of day on my channel. When I first really started out and I was switching back and forth between Twitch and YouTube, I wanted to mention this. Oh, I forgot. My VTuber hates Bedrock Minecraft. Oh no, we have to use PNG Mu. It's gonna be a PNG Mu day. Okay. I'll touch on this as we're playing then. Unfortunately, it's a PNG Mu day. Welcome back, PNG Mu. I think I need to move him up a little bit. So he needs to be like, no, not quite there. He needs to be like around here maybe. I want him to be bouncing quite a lot. I need to find the perfect area where he's bouncing a bunch. But not, like, I don't want to be a super violent bounce. I don't want to be a super violent bounce. State effects, jump. Oh, I could change the velocity. There we go. Oh, that's not that. I don't want velocity, I want the amount. I want the amount to change. Thank you. Maybe we'll do like 50. 50. Is 50 good? 50 seems about right. It's 20. 20 is alright. Yeah, something like that. That seems okay. That seems alright. Oop. I hate that I gotta use PNG Mu, but I gotta use PNG Mu. I wish it was the VTuber, I really do. No, it's specific window. It just has to be window minecraft.window.exe. So, Blue, when I first started out streaming and all of this, I did briefly do Twitch, but I've also gone back and forth several times between Twitch and YouTube. 3 stream streak? Hell yeah! The first time... Oh, I forgot how weird Bedrock looks. The last time I was streaming on YouTube was, I would roughly say about 2 or 3 years ago. Because it's before I had the pink Mew. This is... And the only reason I know this is because, hey, I don't need my camera on anymore. Hold on, let me turn off some stuff. And the only reason I know this is because when I went to change out the settings and everything, how did I get rid of, I want to see YouTube chat. There we go. When I went to change out the settings for like the YouTube stream, it saved my last thumbnail. That thumbnail's a character I forgot even existed because he was there for maybe a month maximum, probably 2 weeks. When I first changed to Mutation CIP, he was not pink. It was a human-looking thing that I don't even remember anything but the skin, and I don't think it even has my skin saved. It was some weird creature-looking thing. It was human, but not... Like, think some radiation survivor you'd see in Fallout 4. Think that. Yeah, just think that, honestly. It looked a lot like that, and then I think he had like a coat or something. Coat, short, jeans, something like that. But he was there and gone because I just did not like him. And then I used Mew for a long ass time and I insisted I'd make the pink guy work and I hated it. So now we have my beautiful Skelly Bat. But when I first started out, I did actually play Bedrock. I don't have it on this specific account. This account that we're currently playing on, I use the same skin, is actually the account I've had since I was on the Xbox. So I have a bunch of worlds on here. I have a shit ton of worlds, which includes Bloom. So that's why we're playing it. But the other account I use was the first time I ever really started streaming and first time playing Minecraft on PC, even though I was playing Bedrock, because I specifically bought it that way, because I'm like, oh, I still want to do this. By Game Mode 1, it's about... Bloom is a game about cultivation, exploration, and customization. Before we begin, find the 3 tools around the garden. Oh, why is it so loud? Do I have my render distance high? Do I have my render distance... Oh my god, let me play my Minecraft parodies, please. Thank you. And now I have to change around my window so I can see YouTube chat. Okay, let me frame rate limit. Why is it at 16? No. Do not keep my chunks at... There we go. Oh my god, the frames. Fuck it. That's something... That's a thing. That's what we need. Oop. Trowel! I don't know. Water bucket, I guess. That's kind of important. Why is there... Okay. Oh. Yeah, it would be. Gimme. You have found some pruner! Blah, 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 blah. Can you tell me the next thing I need to do? Yeah, I found the 3 tools. What do you... Collect clippings from each of the plants. I'm pretty sure pruner. Yeah, pruner. Plant? Plant! Give. He only gives 1. I love how it just holds it up, too. This is how I feel when I walk around with scissors. This is how it feels to chew 5 gum. Can I jump over this? Yes, good. Very good game design. I was talking about a thing. I got completely sidetracked by actually playing the game. I have Skelly Mew, something about chat. Let me play my Minecraft parodies. I gotta like rewind the camera roll of my brain. I don't honestly remember. Oh, right! The first worlds I was playing, I literally have the exact same world still, and it is actually legitimately titled First World. But I still have it. And we go visit it every now and again. I'm pretty sure there is a video on my channel of revisiting it, and I think we've revisited it for one of my most recent streaming anniversary. I'm almost positive of the fact. Will let me? No, they were smart. I cannot escape, unfortunately. Oh, speaking of escape, not quite right, but also kind of. I've been taking Dusty out on more walks. Dusty's my cat, by the way. I feel like this is very vital information to understand what is going on here. So Dusty's my cat. They've been moved to be indoor cats, and I've talked about taking them out on walks fairly often recently because it's become a very common thing that I'm doing because he's actually letting me sleep at night. So I kind of have incentive to keep that up. But Friday, when I took him out for a walk, my mom was out in the garden, and we were just hanging around. I'm like, I was just on a bike ride with my friend Sugar Cookie. That's her name on the streams. My bestie. Well, one of the besties. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't want to move, cat. And I only have this tiny little lead for him. And it's like a little bungee cord that maybe goes out 2 feet, so he can only like maybe go that far away from me. He can't really do all too much. Can I just keep? No. Is this the waiting game? Is this where we watch Paint the Dry? Paint the Dry? Yep, I'm sticking to it. I think this is the moment where we watch the paint dry. I can't sit, so this is the best I'm gonna get. Hey, hold on. Watch that. Watch the. Okay, apparently I'm not allowed to watch the paint dry. There we go. Now I can. No, I can't. I'm blind. Very blind. That is why I'm a bat. Unironically, that is actually not the reason, but it is part of the reason. Anyway, walking my cat. I was sitting at the edge of the porch, and, well, it's not a porch, it's a deck. I was sitting at the edge of the deck, and my mom was like, you know what? You should just get one of the... Ooh. Magical pollen. You should get one of the, like, retractable dog leashes. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually a fantastic idea. So that showed up yesterday, and he loved it. He was just able to kind of roam around and do his thing. It was great. And so he could actually have some amount of independence, which he's a cat. He wants all the possible independence he can manage to pull from his little tiny claws. How many needed? 1. Cool. I got you. Cool. Use the pollen to destroy the barrier. Yeah, I did. Oh, nether barrier. How much is this barrier? 8. Great. And we basically continued this for the rest of this. This is the game. I hate to tell you. It is fun to go around and explore. There is a little bit of a story as well. I didn't pay too much attention to it my first time playing through. Something about a castle and a king, I think. But we continue to do that today. I took him out again, took him on a little walk. I woke him up from his nap. Because I'm like, okay, this is kind of the time slot I allotted, because I expected everything I needed to get done today to take way longer. So I'm like, okay, right after lunch, I'm just going to take Dusty out for a walk. So he's did and done. I don't got to worry about it or feel bad that I didn't get to take him outside today. Because it wasn't going to be a really nice day either. It actually started raining shortly after we went out. So I was like, okay, let me just get him outside. And we go around the back of the house, and there's this little area there that's like, it's the back of the house, but the fence is attached a little awkwardly. So there's this little tiny gap. It's enough that like a cat or maybe a really small dog could get through. And we're sitting there, there's like a pile of old bricks that used to line some of the garden plots. And he's sitting on it, there's a bunch of little grass, he looks so adorable. And apparently we're sitting there long enough and quiet enough that Dusty like starts really leaning down into the grass, and he looks like he's about to pounce at something. And I look up, and there's a squirrel very comically sitting with a peanut in its mouth. And it looks up, sees Dusty, and then looks up further, sees me, and goes, "Yeah, I'm not supposed to be here," and bolts around the corner of the house, out of sight. I felt like a cartoon moment, because, like, 2 days prior, hanging out with Sugar Cookie, we stopped at our bike ride for a second. The first cafe we went to literally closed, like, minutes after we got there. They're like, okay, what are we gonna do next? She's on a phone call for a second. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait here. And I'm just chilling out, and I feel something crawling on my arm, and I look over, and there's just a ladybug chilling on my arm. I got a picture of this. And I'm like, oh my god, Sugar Cookie, look. I'm like waving my hand a little bit and whisper yelling to get her attention over the phone call. and I get her attention. She's like, oh my god, that's so cool, dude. And I'm like paying attention to the little ladybug crawling all over me, just being a little sweetheart. And then Cookie gets my attention again, gets my attention this time. And I look over and she's pointing like frantically at my arm, like, oh, dude, look at your arm. And I look at the back of my right arm, and there's another frickin' ladybug. And I don't know why I'm having like Disney princess level of moments with animals and insects and shit right now. I don't know why this is occurring. I am just a weirdly lucky person, and I don't understand it. Like, similarly, like, this is the extent of my luck right now, and I'm thankful. I don't understand where it's coming from, but I am thankful. Is there anything I can chop? Choppa? No. I'm just gonna save all these. There's a giant greenhouse that we're about to unlock. So I'm hoping that I can just immediately plant all these in there. I should go plant all these in there while we're waiting, actually. That's the smarter thing to do here, instead of sitting and waiting for that. But it's gonna probably take... And there's so many more things like... Oh, hold on. No. We're gonna plant these first, and then I can go around, grab more clippings. And we can do more that way. What? Cheers! I assume bushes? Trim grass and cut through thorny leaves. Diggy hole. Yes. Very diggy hole. Oh, there we go. Sticker? Twine. Okay. And small grass, apparently. And give. Give. Yes, there we go. But on like a similar vein, not necessarily of like animal levels of being lucky, but just a genuinely being lucky kind of thing. I play a merge game called Star Brew is what it's called. And it's visual story novel kind of thing. That's mostly focused on that. Merging is there. It's like a cafe kind of merge setting. It is a cafe. But it's a visual story novel with it, and what it does every 2 months is it gives you a new sticker pack that you can slowly unlock, and when you finish a set of stickers, you get, like, rewards and such. This is a fairly common thing nowadays, so I assume most are aware of the gimmick. We are currently a month into this, and for some reason I have the weird unlucky habit of doing these, like, unlucky but lucky habit of doing these out of order fairly consistently. But I've done so out of order this time that I unlocked one of the later ones, and this morning I went from the stereotypical, like, oh, I have, like, 100 energy. That's just refreshed from last night. And I got, oh, you know, like 20 gems, because I've been spending them every day. I don't have a lot. To suddenly having 700 energy and 200 gems. And I don't know how I'm gonna use all this. I don't know what I'm gonna do. This is not the first time it's happened in this game either. Like, not a week ago, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna check on the game really quick, and then I can go do this thing. I have, like, my editing program in front of me, because I need to finish editing such and such thing. I don't even remember what it was anymore. What do I need here? Upgrade old statue. Okay. We do not care about that right now. I need the pruner. Prune. Very prune. Yes. Much prune. I'm hoping I remember. There's like a bunch of things you can get around the game, and I'm hoping I remember how to actually do all of them. Words. They disappeared. I can't step. I was gonna parkour on that. I can park. Oh. But I can't. Oh, you suck. I just want to get up there for the other plants. Am I not allowed to get up there? Probably not, actually. Probably not. Oh, wait. No, I can. It's just right here. Okay. It is just right here. It is right among here. Where tumst of tistadov? Yes. Very much so. I'm already having a lot of fun with this. I feel like I am just genuinely gonna actually add this to my list of videos I need to make. There is gonna be a video this coming Wednesday on the second channel from the last Terra Swoop Force we did. Because we did there is one Terra Swoop Force up, but we did also play it again and did actually get the speed run I wanted, so I got all the achievements, which was fantastic. Yeah, that's all I can do. Okay. That's all I can do around here, pretty much. Oh, that's already reset. Nice. I'm not gonna organize this. We are just gonna plant as many as I can manage to. Very slowly. Plant them all. Gotta plant them all. We're not gonna, like, try and 100% this. I'm literally gonna do what we need to just get through it and see if I can actually show the whole story. I know and remember what the end is, or, like, what the end goal objective is. The last thing you need to unlock. So we're just gonna try and aim for that. And I know it takes a ridiculous amount of the magical pollen. That's a thing. It takes a ridiculous amount of the magical pollen to do so. So I'm just gonna try and build up as many of these as I can. And get as much as I possibly can manage. I'm pretty sure this is blocked off. No? Okay. I think it's that. No? This is not blocked off. I would think... Where does it... I'm not supposed to be here. This is the next area. Is this the next area we unlock? No, I am allowed to be here, huh? What? Since when was I allowed to be? Okay, never mind. I thought I was not allowed to be in this area. I thought I had to unlock this still. Apparently I do not. I can just run around here like a free bird. That's a little silly. Chopper. Cut. Is sunflowers a thing I can... Yeah, sunflowers are a thing I can gather. Fantastic. Yes, yes, yes. That's a thing. Hold on. We don't care about the book. I care about the axe. Thank you. Hatchet. Bip, bip, bip. I was talking about a thing earlier. I forgot what it was. Just flat out forgot. There was a trail I was going down before I mentioned literally everything else I need to mention. Ridiculously lucky on Starbrew. Yes, 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 yes. It took a second. My mind auto-filled. We good. There we go. I have so many flowers. Good. I need all of them. We need all of them. I'm pretty sure when I cut up myself off and had to talk about a bunch of other stuff, I talked about I had my editing software open. And I needed to do a thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna check it really quick. It was not really quick. I was on there for almost an hour and somehow managed to gain like 500 XP. Just normally. Well, not normally. I managed to randomly luck out and get a bunch of sticker packs finished. Just back to back to back. And I'm like, I literally can't finish some of these orders because I've been using up everything because I have so much energy that I can just continuously, you know, play the game, which is not intended at all. But eventually, I'm like using a couple gems to refill the summoning things, or the spawners, I think is the best word. The things that give you the things. The thing you click and it give you the thing you want. I finally got through all the frickin' energy. I don't need all this. I do not need. It is not required in the slightest. You know, well, do I have to water all these? Yes, okay. We water all these, I go clean up the greenhouse on the other side, and then we come back and hopefully most of these need to be watered again. Probably. Or I'll prune them. I see there's one over there. We're gonna ignore it and come over here and use the shears to clean up these. Because I'm gonna need them sooner than later. And take all that. Take it. Gimme. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Some flowers after midnight. That's the best I can ablet about the moment. Brain focused on cut grass. Much, well, very much. Cut grass. Cut all the grass. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel like this is a decent test stream as well for checking that the dual streaming works. Because if the VOD ends up not really working out, it's not a huge deal. It's actually, no matter what I choose, now I think about it, it wouldn't be a big deal if the VOD didn't work out, because I do plan on just using the Twitch VODs to upload to the second channel still. But it's not something that's like absolutely crazy. It's gonna be a horrible thing if I accidentally lose the VOD. Or something or other happens where it's just absolutely horrible on Twitch's end. It's not gonna be a whole big fanatical thing. There we go. Excuse? There we go. I don't know why I need so much twine. I am keeping so much twine, however. Flower! I forgot those flowers. Flowers! Why do... Get rid. Don't need. I simply wish for the flowers. Fantastic. I'd even check what the other thing needs over there. How much pollen it wants. I'd even look. I'm like, yeah, that needs a thing. But we plant flowers. That's what we doing. We plant flowers. That's all I need to do. Because it really is all I need to do. Genuinely. Yeah, Bob. I'm gonna try and get some recording done this week so we can do Hardcore Amalgamation as the next, like, side project that we will work on. If I could word good, which I never do, but I can hope one day that I will. And slowly practice and work until I do word good. Because if eventually practice enough, word good, and you get better. Better is the get. That's his plan. Oh, there we go. And this is where we obsess over all these flowers and go back and forth between them until they're all watered and done. Again, practice until I word good. I just need to start, like, reading aloud to myself. I swear, I need to do something so I could actually speak better. Because you'd think after, you know, 4 years of streaming, I would be better at speaking. I am not. I just am not. It has not been a thing. It has not occurred this entire time. In retrospect, I am better than I originally was, thinking back to some of my old clips, because some of my first clips were literally just me stuttering over nonsense. Those were pretty much my guaranteed first clips. If I had nothing else funny going on, I could trust that I'm gonna stutter over the most basic of sentences and make a fool of myself, and use that. When in doubt, I shall stutter through it and make my own content that way. There we go. I think at this point, the garden's like self-sustaining, if I don't stutter over that as well. And we can actually manage to basically full-time stay in here, just bouncing back and forth between the different garden beds. We're just about at that point. I'm just gonna up. There we go. Nice, 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 nice. There we go. And for some reason, these ones in the middle just ain't growing. Just no. Not allowed. This one. I knew there was one else missing. Let's see the sparkles. Sparkles! Word good not needed, indeed. I feel like it's a thing that happens so often, but it's something we just understand at this point. So, some context, because I don't think I've genuinely shared this fact over streams. I have known Sugar Cookie for 15 years. We have been together, been hanging out, been besties since day one kindergarten. And word not need when best friend have. This is conversation between best friend. Especially ADHD best friend. We not need extra word. Extra word unnecessary. We talk like fast read. To be, not need. Too many verb. Just need word. And we do entire conversations like this when word not good. We do entire full conversations until we're laughing like crazy, and it's fantastic. We even spitballed an idea of like, I'm like, you know what we need to do? Guess what we need to do? And she's like, what? We need to make a podcast. She's like, oh my god, we need to make a podcast. So disconnected from everything. I'm like, yes, we need to name it Podcast Disconnected. I will edit in at the beginning of every single episode a Bluetooth connected sound, a ba-da-da-da, and then I'll start the intro to the podcast. And every single time we end the podcast, I will put in the Bluetooth disconnected, and then the podcast ends. And we're like, this is absolutely fantastic. We gotta do this. We gotta do the thing. It is a genuinely good idea. I might steal that in the future if I remember to. No one steal that idea. That is mine. Jokingly. Honestly, I would love to see... I don't even care if it's my own podcast. I would just love to see that genuinely be a podcast. I don't even care what it's about. I just think it'd be fun. I think that's just a cool idea to implement, period. It just sounds like fun. I lost contact with one of my friends in kindergarten. Oh no. I think I have like one friend from each era of school that I've kept. There's Sugar Cookie from elementary. I have Axralia from middle school. Technically, very technically, she is also one of my elementary school friends. We used to play with each other Uno on the bus. Because we live surprisingly close to each other, but we, being kids, didn't realize this. And so, despite being literally a stop away from each other, we're like, oh yeah, whatever. I don't know this person outside of school. I have no idea who you are. And then we realized who each other were when I got into middle school, because she's a year older. We realized who each other were when we got into middle school. And then also realized very shortly after that, how damn close we live to each other, and we still laugh about it. But I think it's safe to say our friendship actually genuinely started when we hit middle school. I think we've like steadily agreed on this throughout the years. Me and two of my friends used to gamble on the school bus. What I specifically had, and I think what makes it funnier when you imagine this specifically, I did not have a normal Uno deck. I did. I was actually the kid that brought Uno decks, and we would do a tournament every morning before school. Because this was one of the, my elementary school, we'd all sit in like the gymnasium or something before school started, and while we're waiting for like everybody to show up, I would host mini Uno tournaments. And I was a god at Uno. I am not anymore. I am horrible at it. I don't know what I was on when I was in elementary school, but for some reason I was fantastic at it. Not no more. Not no more. It's to a point where whenever I play with Sugar Cookie jokes, yes, I can finally beat you at Uno. I'm like, I'm horrible at this game anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I place card. That's what I do. And then Pumpkin would be the friend from middle school. Although I have several online friends that I still keep from middle school. Or not, from high school, not middle school. Pumpkin and Plush, who are both mods for me, are both high school friends. Is there any other... I think any other IRLs I have met. Although there's a few IRLs, technically speaking. that I know via Pumpky that are technically high school friends. Because it's from that kinda era, even though I didn't actually meet them in said high school. Otherwise, I don't have any IRL friends that I met during school. There's like 2 other people, but I don't really talk to them much anymore. So it's literally just the 3 people from school. And those are the 3 best friends. That's who I got. But... and ain't no distance stopping us. Also, the great thing about both me and Sugar Cookie, we both have ADHD, right? And one of the things of ADHD is a fair amount of object permanence, which applies to people, so it's out of sight, out of mind. And this can be very startling to, like, people who aren't ADHD or aren't, like, neurodivergent. But me and Sugar Cookie can not see each other for months, and we'll see each other again, and it's like no time has passed, period. We still talk to each other and have, like, the same strong-ass bond as, like, day ones. And I love that I don't use Instagram a lot anymore. I don't, like, doom scrolling on it. I barely allow TikTok to stay on my phone, and even then I have, like, a 5-minute screen time set on it. And I only open it to post, I don't even use it to post the videos anymore. I use the mobile dashboard to post the TikTok videos. I only use it when I need to post a story. Or if I, like, get a notification that there's a comment, I'm like, oh, I can actually just respond to this real quick. Okay, It's mostly just to tell me when I get comments. I need all of that. I think that's story thing. Where do I need to unlock next? And how much? Because we have 62 now. Is this the area I need to unlock? 32, yes. I have that. This might actually be a lot faster to play than I thought it was. It very well might be. What else is there to unlock? Do I have this stuff? There's this thing over there. We ain't 100%ing this. What it is what it is. 64. Okay, we can do that. So I'm pretty sure, like, doing all this extra stuff just unlocks more story. I just want to make it to the end. That's all I care about. Also, the only reason, like, some of this stuff looks weird is because I have my settings all the way down low. 1, so it runs well. 2, so I can actually stream. Those are the only reasons that it looks as weird as it does. So I apologize for that, but I kind of need this to at least decently run well. Because otherwise it's horrible for you, it's horrible for me. I'd rather it look absolutely downright dog shit horrible and run well than have it not run well. Because otherwise it's just torture. I am just watching stop motion animations. I love stop motion animation, but that's not what I want right now. I've come to play a game, not play an animation. I haven't had the motivation to play on my VR headset. I get that. I need, like, I really want to... One of the games I want to get back to at some point is Raging Rabbids Go Home. I'm currently not in the possession of the Wii, nor do I want to set that shit up, and I'm still actively trying to finish other games, so I'm like... I could. I don't really want to deal with it. I don't really want to. It's a Wii game. I don't really want to deal with it. I really don't. I should play my Pikmin Bloom more. I'm not. It tells me the miserable 200 steps I've taken today, and that's only if I happen to actually keep my phone on me. I have a weird habit. I have an on-off habit of I will either always forever have my phone on me, or I just leave it in a room and completely forget for the entire day that I have left it there. So I'll, like, between lunch and dinner, like, if one of my brothers went and got some lunch, I'll accidentally leave the phone on the table, and I won't even realize it. I'll go back to my room, I'll play some games, I'll do this thing, I'll do that thing. And then I'm like, I need to go for my phone to do something or answer somebody back. Or I'm like, oh, I have a few minutes, I'm gonna check on that game. And I'll look around, I'm like, Did I seriously just leave it in the kitchen again? Is it seriously sitting on... And I go out there and it's just sitting on the dining room table again. I went and showered. I did that literally today, unfortunately. I went and showered and I came back to my room like, wait, okay, here's water bottle number 1. I need to refill that. Here's not water bottle number 2. That's still full. We're all good there. Where's my it's not here. It's on the bedside table. It's not on my desk. It should be at my desk. It's not in the right spot. It's not on the bedside table. It's not on my bed. It's not where is it? And I go out and it's sitting next to my drink on the dining room table because I've only brought back my water bottle for some reason and just completely forgot to grab my phone or the soda. It was, we have enough pollen. Okay, let me go plant these flowers and then we can go. I see all the other ones that are still sparkling. I used to think this would take, I thought this would take way longer. Oh yeah, hold on. Okay, we're only like an hour in. And we didn't start actually playing until like a half hour in. So, yeah, maybe this doesn't take nearly as long as I thought it would. Just perhaps, mayhaps, it doesn't. Just a thought, just an inkling of a suspicion that it does not. Because I'm sitting here thinking, oh, maybe we can get like halfway through it, third way through it, something like, no. I think we're just genuinely going to get the entire thing done. I don't remember how many magic pollen it wants for the final thing. I just remember thinking, oh, that's a lot. Why is it so many? Hydrate, yes. I gulped down some matcha. I went to the hospital yesterday because of a weird bump on my arm, so it hasn't been motivated. Ooh, yeah, that'll do it. Hope you're feeling good, man. Because even if it's just a scare, it still is a very good scare. Not even the sense of like, oh, it was a fun scare. No, it's a bad scare. I'm sorry about that, man. Why do the hydrangeas... Actually, I know why hydrangeas take forever. They are really slow to grow. We have a couple hydrangeas. We got... Our Oregon grapes have finally, like, really grown. And I'm happy about it. I'm like, oh my god! I remember when those boys were planted. I've graduated since then. That's a thought. I have, like, way more I can plant. Hold on. I assume, yes, this can cut down these. So we're gonna replant all the ones that haven't grown yet. I don't want to deal. I don't want to deal with hydrangea. You take forever. You're not worth it. You don't even give extra. You're the same amount. We have a bunch of these. We're gonna plant a bunch of these. They give the same amount of pollen for way more time planted. And way extra water, and it is not worth it. Plant all of them. Plant, baby. Bum 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 bum. Okay, you can be anything else here. Need my attention? Nope. Okay, give. Y'all are of no use to me. I swear I will actually go back to the thing and put the magic pollen in and continue this frickin' thing. I just want to make sure when I come back after dealing with all that, because I'm going to have to walk a ways for it. I know it's not a lot realistically, but I'm going to have to walk all the way there and all the way back. And I'd much rather just all of this be growing while I did. Ideally. Oh wait, hold on. Probably have to do. Does that even work? Not really, no. Just slowly go through one by one until I'm sure they're watered. Apparently that's the only way to do it. And these are going to be done growing before I even leave. Well, maybe that's a good thing. Please, just let me water all of these and I will be on my way. Just slowly move through it. Oh, something else we should do if I end up finishing this way earlier than I think. Or as early as I think we might. I'm not gonna bother 100%ing this. Maybe if people like overwhelmingly like it, then I'll come back. I'm not gonna, otherwise I'm not gonna bother. I don't care about that. I want this one. I want this type of flower because they go nice and fast. I don't care about y'all. You take forever to grow. Are there any more of those? Honomas. Yeah, well, we can plant some of these then. No, I still need those. If I'm not doing the extra stuff, I'm not gonna keep the twine on me. That would be the smart decision here. What we should do after this is play a little bit of, Glitch Runner. It is a parkour speed run. And I love it dearly. It is really fun. It's really cool. Are all these, almost all these are dried out. Okay, I'm gonna ignore that one so I could just come through here afterwards. And have like all of them just be grown and ready. Or most of them anyhow. So I can just go through all of them at once, pretty much. I'm gonna be chasing my tail doing this. We're just gonna do this area. I'm gonna make sure a couple of these are watered. And then I'm running before I catch my eye on another thing I need to do. Because that's how it is. I know myself, that's how- nope, 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 I see not. I do not see. I do not perceive. We run. We run. That is what we do. We keep going. We just keep moving. We just keep swimming. That's a cute little statue. I'm pretty sure the area we need to get to is like over there. I'm pretty sure it's literally that cave right there that we'll unlock somehow, some point, some way, I think. More matcha. Yellish. Fantastic. Boop. Processing. Nice. We still have 27. Complete. What am I supposed to do here? Just supposed to unlock it. Oh, that's right. You can actually like fully play this and just genuinely have fun. For some reason, I'm speedrunning it because for some reason I do that now. Because there's so much more story and extra stuff that goes into this, and I'm like, nah, we unlock areas. This is what I do now. Do I need to actually go through and do the things and unlock and upgrade the things for the full experience? Is this what I'm feeling? Is this what I'm hearing? Oh, you can upgrade the house, too. Ah, yes. I love technology. Technologia. I don't even know where that means from. I just know it exists. Oh, I needed the shear. Oh, I needed shears for this area. Okay. I believe this is just a... Yeah, it's Meddler's Maze. So there's a way into that somehow. I know not to go this way. Third person kind of breaks this a little bit. I do not care. That is hidden. That's a secret. That's... I mean, it has rose. It does have a lot of magical pollen. Hold on, that actually matters. Okay, so we do have to find the secret little areas. So I can get excess magical pollen to use for something, maybe, at some point. I think. That is how I expect this to go. Is that? No. That is just a dead end. There's a way to go over there. I saw... Yeah, there's an area to cut there. This is the way. This is this spot. Pickaxe. Mattock. Okay. Feeling a little special, are we? Upgrade. Is there a chest? No. I think there's 2 chests in this. Are you gonna force me to use the thing? Oh, you get 9? You can clear clutter. I don't care enough to do that. I simply wish for the little secrets that exist about the place. Is there not another one of those? Is there not another secret little chest for me to find? There's that one we already went to. I'm not seeing one that's like objectively a closed off area, so I'm gonna unfortunately assume there's a statue there. Doesn't have anything though. I'm just gonna safely assume and move on this way. Very slowly. Because it is a maze. Please let me through. I don't want to deal with your bowl. We just want to move on. Thank you. Okay, secrets. All the things. There's stuff over here. There's a chest right here. Can I place this somewhere? I don't want the small grass. It's just a random book about the things. I just want to unlock thing. I want achievement get dopamine. That is what I am inquiring here. I know, like, the first time I really went through and played all this, I remember playing it very briefly when I first got it, and I was like, I don't care about this. And one day I did genuinely come back. Upgrade magical? I don't care. It's an upgrade, it's not an unlock. I don't think there's any chests with a bunch of magical pollen for me, unfortunately. And I imagine this connects back up. Yes. This connects back up to the area blocked earlier. There we go. I don't know why that, out of all things, would give twine, but okay. Noted, I guess. Alright, what did I actually need to... hold on, we're gonna water. We're gonna water, because I know I need... I have a feeling it's like 4 stacks of the magical pollen. So I'm just gonna safely assume that as the goal. If it is not, then we will absolutely kill the goal. But I'm gonna safely assume it is that. And agua, all the aguas. There's like so many maps I have that I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that actually sounds like fun. We should do that. We should do that. I feel like this is how I end up spending each, like, middle of the season, between seasons, that is I just go do a bunch of random stuff. Which, at this current point in time, just so happens to be Bloom. And I guess there's Parkour Warrior yesterday. But this is usually what happens. I think the last time I just made Amalgamation. I think genuinely that's what it was. That is the correct time frame for Amalgamation to have started. I think it might have been in the middle of the season. I can't remember the exact start date of Amalgamation. I'm really excited to be playing hardcore for it, though. Tomorrow's gonna be editing the Terra Swoop Force, so it can be uploaded Wednesday. I have a list of the other things I need. I need to figure out 3D modeling and, like, the general way I want the Mewtuber to look when I rig him, because I didn't have a plan for it the last time, and that's part of why I want to redo him and re-rig him. Okay, more things are slowly growing. Fantastic. Oh, we should check on the other side. Well, all of that's growing instead of me chasing my own tail. Is this? Wait, hold on. Is this the area I need to unlock? No, that looks like a late thing. I think that's the literal end game. No? Anything? Anything. There we go. Few things. Minimal, but few. Just a couple. Perhaps, little perhaps. Thank you. really curious about that now. When did I? When had I? Oops, did I? When did I start amalgamation? When did I? There's a bunch of different versions. Where's it? Amalgamation 1.1. 11 months ago. So that... When was that? I think that was at the end, towards the end of Passion SMP Season 1. Hold on, I'm gonna scroll back in the playlist order. When did it start? In the middle of it. Okay. Because or towards the end, actually. How many... When did I... Episode 20s? Okay, in the middle, because we went to about 30 episodes. I think it's like 30 or 31 total. So about in the middle of it. Because... I just finished Colony Craft. I'm like, okay, I want to play a mod pack. I tried Parasites. Which is a CurseForge mod pack. Or not CurseForge. Forge Labs mod pack. And I kind of like that, but I still kind of miss Colony Craft, and I ended up with Amalgamation, which did use some things from the Parasite mod pack that I did like using, and then took a bunch of the stuff I really liked using when I played Colony Craft, which was just genuinely my favorite mods. And that's how we started with Amalgamation, and now it's become an actual RPG-focused mod pack. And part of the DMs I was dealing with today was several days back. I think literally like last week even. Actually, I could say last week because I'm pretty sure it was last fucking Tuesday. I got a message like, oh, I'm so-and-so. I would like to collaborate with you on the mod pack. I'm like, I'm COO of Connected Coasting. I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. I texted it back. And then I realized afterwards, he said to message him on Discord. So I'm like, I'm going to give it a day. If he doesn't message back over on the CurseForge messaging system, then I will send him a thing over on Discord. Next day, it didn't happen, so the day after that, I sent him a message, or sent him like a friend request on Discord, and today, he finally got back to me. It's been long enough that I'm like, who are you? Oh, it's this thing. Okay. And then the entire time, he's like, oh, we can do a thing and give you a commission for kinetic hosting. And I'm like, so, I'm immediately spotting some problems here. I like the idea. We already solved this problem with Essential. And he's like, no, it's better. It's better, it's more secure. And I'm just like, I care a lot more about keeping it free and accessible. And I'm seeing a problem arising here. I have a concern that this does not actually fit with the mod pack. Because what he's trying to offer me is Elder Scrolls Online, and I have built Skyrim. It is not the same. It just isn't. It is not the same thing. By far. And I'm like mentioning this, like, I do not think this is gonna fit. It's not the same experience we want, and he's trying to keep pushing it, and it's to a point where I do not feel like I'm definitely talking to a human. This is not a robot. I'm definitely talking to a human here, but it also feels like I'm talking to a call service center who insists on trying to upgrade me when I just want to cancel the plan. And every time I bring up another concern, he's instead bashing on Essential and saying how his thing is better, and I'm like, okay, this is not gonna work. This is not the collaboration I expected here. Because when he messaged, I was expecting like, oh, this is another creator. Maybe we could do some sort of update or something together, videos, etc. Not, hey, use our thing and we'll give you some commission of it, I guess. Which is what it was. So I'm like, hey, this is not what I expected out of a collaboration. Thanks for your time anyway, I guess. And then I finally got like a more human response of like, oh, okay, see you later. Is that the correct amount? Was I correct in the 4 stacks? Was it actually genuinely 4 stacks? Four stacks. I know my stuff! I played this once! Okay, what was going on here? What was this thing? Dream Potion. Luminous Truff. What the What? Nature. Is it this? What? 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 Huh? Internet. And bloom luminous truffle. How does one? Bind the luminous truffles with a magical. How do I get? Okay, it's pointless. Hold on, it's pointless. Because you drink it near an empty statue pedestal to reveal a gnome. What do the gnomes do? Nothing. They do nothing. Thank you, random internet post. I don't know. I don't know. I swore there's a way to actually finish this. I don't remember what it is no more. Because I thought it was this thing. It is not this thing. We gathered I was about to say 2 stacks. 4 stacks of the magical pollen. Nah, not even worth it. Not even. What do? Do I have to, like, collect one of each? Is that how I do the final thing? Do I even want to do the final thing? Because I'm pretty sure the end area, it's not even anything magnificent. It's just like, oh, thank you for playing the game. I hope you had a good time. Smile. Four out of 15 species grown. So I think it's literally, oh, you did the thing. Congratulations. You did all the plants. We're playing it. We're playing other thing. We're gonna go play other thing. I'd even get an hour out of that. Look at all the random stuff I have. Okay, where's the thing I want? Where's the thing I want? Glitch Runner! My baby boy. Fun fact, one of my TikToks, some of my early TikToks are just of Glitch Runner. Because I didn't have Java, so I couldn't do the stereotypical, like, what is the server called? Hyplex housing. I couldn't do the stereotypical background, so I used Glitch Runner. And we're just gonna get right into it. It's great. I love it. Where are you gonna put the door is my question. Okay, right there. Boop. Give. And then you run. And you try and run as far and fast as you can, but you can also get other stuff for a bunch of points. And avoid the things. This is how I learned parkour as well. Why is it not loading some stuff? Is it that old? Is it that old that it just said no, you're not allowed to load stuff anymore? Also, it disintegrates behind you, so you do have to be fast enough that that's not happening. Drop. Give more time. Whoop. 32. And ice and such will slow you down, of course. But this is genuinely how I started and got into parkour. Whoop. And is by far the way I've best learned, because it adds just enough challenge with big dopamine hit of do the thing. Also, I can find fun ways to go around like that, and it's not a serious issue if I don't do the right path immediately. Because it's Minecraft, I could just run back through. And do stuff like that. I can have fun with it. Plus music good. I like it at music. Music fun. That's a protection thing, so I won't get hurt for a little bit. There's one hiding back here. And then we loop around. It's procedurally generated too. It's not the same thing every single time. I need to go the other way. And I'm probably... Oh, I almost fell. I'm probably wasting some time going around for every single little thing I can get. But it does mean more points. So... Oh no, I'm a little bit ahead. Just a little bit. That or my render distance is so poor. We'll find out. We really will find out, because I'm just gonna suddenly die at some point if I'm going too slow. I forgot how much I love this. This makes my brain quiet. Like, in a positive way. It just makes my brain very quiet. And I do enjoy it quite a bit. 'Cause no thought. This is the path I take. I know what I need to do. I need to find rainbow, and then I move on. We just keep going. There is no need for thought. I have cataloged where I need to go, and then I go that way. It's a steady mouse movement. I'm pretty sure it saves high scores too. Yeah, there's the high scores. And there's a practice area over there. Is there anything else more fun? I feel like I might change the goal of this. I'll add a special intro and be like, I intended to do this thing, but then we got bored, so we started doing a bunch of Bedrock maps that I have saved. You want to do snowboard racing? I have snowboard racing. There's Course Terror Swoop Force. We already did a bunch of that, though. I am not playing the entirety of the theme park. No. No, thank you. The last time I played that was with my nephew, and it broke when we played it. One of the last areas, literally, it's like the second to last thing you have to do, and then it's like, ta-da, you did it, you faved the park, is collect a bunch of cows in an area. What is riding a snowboard? Oh! I don't think I've actually played this one. Where am I what am I doing? Is this Mario Kart? It's Mario Kart! I don't think I've ever actually touched this! Why am I playing Mario Kart on a snowboard? What? What? Item, Rocket Dash. Why am I playing Mario Kart on a snow? I need to see... I need to convince Lilac somehow to play this. I need to see what Minecraft maps I own that are just random chaos like this, and you can't find them anymore. 'Cause this... I did not expect this. Also, half of it's not working, but I did not expect this. I have found a hidden gem, and I don't know where I have this from. Why do I have this? Where do I have this? What, when, how, what? Why? It's so slow. What is even... What state does it force me into? Goal! I did it! I guess. Is this how I get back up? How do I... What? What? Am I meant to be on this? What? What am I playing? Well, there's another course we could do, I guess, so let's go do that. No, there's... How many courses are there? How many courses are there? It's over here. A course, B course, C course, B course. It gives you a preview of the course. What? 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 Is it giving me? It's giving me a countdown! What am I playing? What am I playing? What is happening? What is what am I gonna get? Is that a rocket? Water, right? It's a water bucket. I placed a bucket. I assume that's just like a trap. I assume it's like a banana. This is it's an experience. That's for certain. Can I actually move this with WASD? Okay, I've been fully controlling this with my mouse. Boop. What is... Okay. Okay, I get... Snowballs! How about thee? This is probably the way I'm meant to go. Probably. Perhaps, mayhaps. I don't know what I am playing. But it's interesting. It's... Snowball! How did I get caught in my own snowball? What? What do you mean? TNT? Boop. Oh my god. How did I end up at... This is the goal we were just at. Did I accidentally go into this area? It gave me a crown. I have the crown. Okay. I don't want to look at this flickering on my screen anymore. I really don't like this. I'm gonna leave. That was the thing. You know, I know what we need to do. We need to play Logic Zero. I don't even remember what this is. I just know it's a puzzle. Matcha gone. Delish matcha. That's credits. Credits. Start? Yes. What am I... You were not that in the past. Is... What? What? I now understand why I didn't play this. I now understand why I did not play this. I'm thinking of a different thing I have. Is there another one I have that's the exact same thing but different? I don't think it was Logic Zero. I don't think it was. Sub-Zero! This is what I was thinking of. I think this is the exact same. Yes. Everbloom. I recognize the icon. This is the exact same thing. But different. Boop. This is what I was expecting. It's just that one mobile game. This is actually a really old genre of game, though. It's not even just the mobile game. My, like, family van, the van we have, at some point we got, like, one of those little, like, console stations, TV things booted up, preloaded with games. And one of the games on it is this, but with a box in, like, a warehouse or something. But we have this exact thing. Except that one's, like, made in the 1990s, so it's far less forgiving. And it has you with, a limited amount of moves. I see the path forward. Not gonna lie, I genuinely love this kind of game. I wouldn't play it as a mobile game purely because the ads would piss me off because I'd finish these levels too fast. But as in like a Minecraft setting, this is fine. This is alright. I am willing to put up with this. I genuinely love this kind of puzzle though. This and Sudoku, and apparently specifically glitch runner parkour, make my brain very happy apparently. At some point I lost the YouTube chat. I don't know when that happened. I gotta compute for a second. Where? Because I need to get it to this block, but how do I get it to this block? Specifically. Because I can't have it stop right here. Oh my god. It's... I was making it just a little bit too difficult. I see I need this corner. Was I intended? No, that would get me stuck. I don't... Oh my, I see the path. I see the path. I see the path. I saw the path. I love this. I want to make, I need to make something like this in Passion SMP. I could do it with armadillos, or I could do it with the armor stands. Either one would work. I'd have to make it very specific. I'd have to find a way to keep it limited so they could only go in a specific direction. But that would be very interesting to pull off. If I do anything other than this, I'm gonna get stuck. So I need to see, I think the best way to do it is this way. Oh, I see the path. I see the path. I see the path. I saw the path. I might genuinely come back to... I want to see what other maps I got. I really like that. I would genuinely spend the rest of the stream playing nothing but that. I really like that. That made my brain happy. I don't think I ever actually played Doggy Daycare. I know I downloaded it once for my nephew. And he got through a little bit of it, but it was at a time where he's still not, isn't really. But he wasn't reading by himself, and it was a bunch of reading, and he didn't know what to do because he couldn't read it. You know, I'm talked about it enough. I want to try it. I'm so curious what it is. I have a feeling it's just like a short story kind of thing. But I've gotten myself curious now. And I want to know what in the world. Oh, Yanni. This is why I only stream 2 hours. Alright. Also, so I don't actually ruin my voice, because I will just talk the entire time, and do my best to do so. Most of the time. Oh no. I know I'm tired. Okay, this is definitely a me thing. It's not something to be specifically worried about. It's been a me thing my entire life. When I'm tired, I just flat out start crying. So I know I'm tired when I start getting watery eyes. It is just a consistent thing. It just happens. Aunt Schrodinger? Hello there, dear. It's been... You've grown so much. I suppose we should get right to it, eh? Well, I was gonna make a joke! You won't let me make the joke! I have no doubts you'll be able to take over the place, perhaps even grow even further than I managed to in my time here. But first, a test. It's one any true carer of dogs should be able to pass. The test is simple. What breed of dog is in this box? Oh, it's just whatever breed of dog I want it to be. Okay. I probably did grow a lot because I'm dead. I'm a skeleton. So yeah. Anyway, what do I want? Okay. So several things to unload real quick here. I have always, since I was a kid, wanted a German Shepherd named Waffle or Pancake. I have and a cat named Cow, a black and white, white and black spotted, a white cat spotted. White and black. How is this the thing I stutter over? A spotted cat named Cow. And I've somehow got both with Dusty. Dusty is a cat, but he looks like a golden retriever and acts like one. Yeah, I'm talking about you, dude. He just woke up. He's in the cat tree next to me. However, I do adore corgis and I adore huskies. Also, however, nothing a can of beans can't fix. Actually, if it's red bean. I don't normally like beans. I do love some red. Oh, I want a red bean bun. I want a red bean bun. That sounds so good. When I walk to the library, I just need to take the extra, like, mile to get to my local Asian market. I could just take the bus to the other one. Would they have better red bean bun selection? I'm gonna have to look into that. Moon walks out. Thank you, Saki Jockey. Appreciate seeing you. I have, however, I also love Dachshunds. Currently, my grandpa and grandma do have one named Coco, so I could just have Coco hanging out with me. I have also in the past really loved them to the point that I got like a little plushie of a Dachshund. What do I feel like today? You know what I do want? What's going to be the closest? I really want to get a Yorkie. I want to get a little Yorkshire one day. I feel like that right there is going to be the closest to a Yorkie. Is that supposed to be a Greyhound? That looks like a Greyhound. That's a Husky. I don't know what you are. I think that's meant to be a Billy. Dachshund. I'm not sure what you are. You're definitely Dalmatian. You feel more like the Corgi, so I don't know what this is. That's the Australian. I don't remember the breed name. I think it's Australian. Beagle. That one dog in Lady and the Tramp. Probably probably. Did I call it a German Shepherd earlier? I wanted a Goldie. A Goldie. I can't remember the full name of it. I wanted a Goldie. I know you're Aussie or something. It's a different kind. I know what this thing is. He's always depicted with like a little medical bag around his neck. German Shepherd. I think I called the thing I wanted a German Shepherd. You seem dehydrated. Alright. I have the water bottle prepared, and I have a second one on standby. Hit me with it. How many do you have backlogged, Billy Bob? How many do we have backlogged? I think I did set a slight timer on it so they could... Did I? I might have just set like a tiny timer on it. But I'm pretty sure they still are. What did I call this? German Doodle? Damn it, out of stock. What do you... Hold on, let me look at it. What do you mean out of stock? Out of stock? Let me move this up. There we go. Well, let me look at the Twitch end of things. Hydrate, edit. Oh! I fixed... Okay, so what I accidentally did at some point is I limited the redemptions per stream to 1 and limited the redemptions per user per stream to 1 when I just wanted it to have a 1 minute cooldown. It should be fixed now. It should be fixed now. I don't remember what this... What is this called? I just think of it as a Goldie. Goldie dog. What is the... Golden Retriever! I wanted a golden retriever named Waffle and or Pancake. This is gonna be the closest to... That almost looks like... This is gonna be the closest to Yorkie. Do I want to settle on that, though? Coco. We're going with Coco. Hi, Coco! Wait, you got it right? I was just joking around, that's very impressive. Well, clearly I leave my doggy daycare in the right paws, eh? I think this little pupper has taken a liking to you. I hope so. It's my grandma's dog. Perhaps you should have them tag along. They could be my big eyes and cute ears inside the building, eh? Who's a good dog is you? I think the pupper deserves a name, don't you? Why don't you give them one? Of course she has a name. Her name's Coco. Sadly, I can't get Athena as well, because I'm limited to 1 dog. And they didn't have Athena. Athena's like a little... She's a sausage of a dog. I don't know what breed she is. She's just like a short brown coat. I don't know what breed she is. Hi, Coco. Your dog seems to like their new name. I officially passed this doggy daycare on to you, as my great aunt did on to me. It passes diagonally through the family tree, you see. A strange request of hers. She always was rather eccentric. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have important retirement things to be getting on with. I'll be in touch with anything helpful I remember. In the meantime, just trust your gut. Retirement cruise, here I come. I don't think I know my great-grandma, or my great-aunt. I don't think I know great-aunt. I have a great-uncle, but he sucks. So we're not gonna worry about him. He's a freaking con artist. Hey, I have a Grunkle stand. Oh my god. I really wish I had my VTuber working. So that could be a live reaction. I just genuinely have a fucking Grunkle. Oh my god. I have a specific cousin to tell that. And I know she's gonna laugh when I say it. If only he was as likable. He is not. He's not. Hey there, you're the new manager, right? Schrodinger sent something about you arriving today. I'm about to close up the building. I guess your official start is tomorrow. How exciting. For now, you should get your furry friend home and rest. Excuse me. Oh, you'll probably want to feed them. Bear with me 1 second. Here's some food I found in our store cupboards. Not the best welcome to the new job gift, but that's the thought that counts, eh? This person is definitely Canadian. To feed a dog, click on their dog bowl. I got you one of those from Outback too. Okay. Before anything else, oh, you put it right here. Okay, I am blind. There you go, Coco. Oh, look at them. Wow, they ate that fast. Oh my. Well then, I look forward to seeing what you can do with the place. Welcome to the daycare. Always leash your dog when walk. I could have gotten a golden retriever and named it Dusty and pretended it was Dusty. I really could have. I probably should have. But sorry, Dusty. I'm just babysitting Coco right now. I'm just gonna pretend that I'm babysitting Coco. I might have a picture of Coco, actually. I think I have one picture of Coco. One singular photo from hanging out at their place once. Unfortunately, my grandparents got a little unlucky timing. They, sold their house. They're gonna live in an RV for a couple years, and they're gonna get a house, custom built. And they sold it at the beginning of 2020. So you can imagine how that went. They were stuck in the RV just quite a bit longer than they intended to. Quite a bit longer. And so they finally got in a house more recently. But while they were in that RV, we actually, me and my parents went up and visited. And hung out, stayed the night, did a little fake camping, because we could just go over to their RV. I stayed in the RV, they stayed in the little tent. And I have a picture in that RV with Coco. Oh, there's the hydrates. Yes, I will hydrate. Fun fact, Billy Bob, you have redeemed over 100 hydrates. I know this because Good morning. Okay, yeah, we're heading to the daycare. I know this because recently I went through, and when I went to change up the channel point so it'd have a 1 minute cooldown, when I went to go change it, I'm like, okay, let me quickly deal with all the redeems and stuff, because it wants you to say that you finished the redeem, so you can recognize that it has been done, or you can refund the points. What? Doggo delay. We're not worrying about that right now. And so I could genuinely see there were over 100 hydrates sitting, waiting to be confirmed. And then a few other random things. I remember specifically there was 129 notifications. Hey, wondering what to do? Since it's your first day, let me give you some tips. Dogs will let you know when they want something. You'll see need icons. Over their heads, interact with them to fully fulfill their need. Once they're fully happy, they'll give us yellow sparkles. Cool. We can't do training yet. Crate room. You want food! Feed dogs with food from the storage closet. Is this the thing? Is this the thing? Another hydrate? Yes. Agua. I may have gone in for more than I can chew with this. Where's the storage? Storage? That's just training room, which I'm not allowed in. Oh. Yeah, that would be. Is it just... I can't pick those. Oh. Is it worth noting I'm blind? Very, very blind. Very much so. Boom. Where did my leash go? Is this literally the game? Is this it? Best friends. Dogs can form strong friendships with their favorite playmates. Where did my leash? Why did it get rid of like all my leashes? Does it even recognize I'm playing? Washroom training didn't take. 10 customers hire new sweat. Is it? Feed dogs with food from the store. I did. Oh, your phone started ringing. Ring, ring. Hello there. I just thought I'd buzz the line and give some advice about taking the doggos for a walk. You remember how to walk, right? Just follow the orange floating footsteps like we used to when you were younger. But the dogs will often make their own fun. But be warned, not everything a dog thinks is fun is actually good for them. If your pup decides to investigate tall grass, they might end up with ticks. Also, this is genuinely like teaching you how to take care of a dog. These pesky freeloaders latch onto the dogs and are very uncomfortable. If a dog happens to get ticks while frolicking, use the tick remover. I think a dog got ticks. On them. Can't have them getting back to daycare. Anyway, dear, a mustache. There's a gentleman here who seems to think I can't operate a glider while on the phone. Toodle pip. Oh, that's... Where's the dog? Where did the dog go? It didn't tell it what... It can't have wandered that far in like the 2 seconds I was reading things. I mean, I guess I'm following the steps. I guess. Because it didn't actually take the dog with me. I don't know what is happening. I'm just gonna follow the orange. And assume this is fine. Because I don't know where Doggo is. Do you just come back around? What? It didn't teleport the dog with me. I don't know what I'm doing. That's where we can... What? Can I just go back? Remember that human is better at walking than a dog is. Dogs get tired faster. I don't think you even brought the dog with me. No, I'm stuck walking the dog. Where's the dog? You didn't give me the dog. There's a reason I play Java. There's a reason. There's a reason I play Java. There's a reason I play Java modded and not Bedrock maps. I have so much respect to Lilac because what is this? What is this? How does she put up with it? What has happened? Why is every time that this has been played? Why is every time why is the dog here now? Where were you? No, we're not completing the walk. Oh. No. I saw before I closed that on the left-hand side. Time to take care of your own needs. Time to take care of my own needs indeed. And that's ending the stream. I'm done. This somehow ended up... Oh wait, I can have my VTuber. Hold. VTuber. Forget that. It's beatboxing. Yes, that is exactly what I'm doing. I was not stuttering at all. That's fine. Please. Ready, please. Load the thing. Thank you. Please. Thank you. Oh my god. Okay. That I remember why I don't play Bedrock a lot. I remember why. I remember why. I think next time I'm just gonna scroll and see whatever I can find as a random mod. We'll find something else. We'll find something else to do. Hopefully next time we'll be playing on Amalgamation Hardcore, because I'm hoping by the end of this week I will have started up that series, and then Saturday we could play it. But until then, I think that's just gonna be it. This seemingly was a decent tester stream. Seemingly so, I believe to be. I'll have to check how the VOD is handled and how YouTube has handled the VOD and all of that fun stuff afterwards. And then I will assess accordingly if we do want to continue making this a thing or if it's way too much of a hassle. I think I do want to continue to do it just because I like the idea of it, and also I think it's kind of fun to be like, hey, which one do you want to go to? Twitch or YouTube? Although it does make it slightly more annoying. I might, if I do continue to do this, I will only be posting the Twitch link. I think that's about it. There was a video up today, so I don't have to worry about that. There's going to be a video up Wednesday on the second channel, Mewtwo. Second YouTube channel. It will be the finishing up of Terra Swoop Force, because I still have that VOD and I have not finished that. I have not edited it, period. And then Saturday should hopefully be Amalgamation Hardcore, same time at 7 PM PST. Trying to think of other things, and I am struggling. I am sleepy. I want to go lay in bed and read. That's what I want to do. I need to do my Japanese lessons, so. Unless I want to have, like, 40 to do tomorrow. Okay. I think that'll be it. I don't really have much more. I can't think of anything else to add. Is there anything else there'll probably be another YouTuber by the next stream. I'm gonna try and remind myself to actually record. I don't think I'm gonna be streaming that process, but I might do a couple recordings here and there, and then do a side video of like, hey, we did this thing. I can't think of anything else. I honestly can't. Huh. That's all I got. So I think we're gonna end right there. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.